England held to a 1-1 draw against Uruguay at Wembley. As ever, it was live here on talkSPORT.
And Foden almost able to win it, and Araujo going in really strong, and that was a poor challenge, and Tuchel is furious, and he's right in the face of the fourth official, Benjamin Brand, complaining about that challenge. Maguire as well, it's a little flick header, oh, it's in, and England finally have the breakthrough. Ben White from 10 inches out, and England lead Uruguay 1-0. Oh, now the referee's been called over to the monitor, and the VAR has told him to come over and have a look.
He's given a penalty.
And the Uruguayan supporters absolutely jubilant. A penalty is given in stoppage time. Yellow card is shown to White. And Uruguay will have the chance from the penalty spot. James Trafford on his international debut. Can he deny? Fede Valverde from the penalty spot. No, he can't. It's slid into the bottom left-hand corner, not quite, from Trafford, who went the right way. Valverde wheels away, celebrates with real gusto in front of the Uruguayan supporters. And this is going to end 1-1.
That's how it sounded live for you here on talkSPORT last night with a top team out at Wembley. Not the most exciting of games, was it, Cassie? Yes, it's a friendly.
No.
But did you expect a bit more from England?
No, I look, when you have a 35-man squad and you end up selecting and then playing players that are not going to get the full 90 minutes and you're going to make a lot of changes, I think as well I'd add into Uruguay made it a bit of a stop-start game. You know, the momentum, England couldn't get any momentum going. I thought the two centre forwards, the two Doms, didn't really dominate. Solanke found it hard to get an opportunity. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had one, didn't take it. The biggest disappointment for me, because I think he's a terrific footballer, and it weren't that long ago, it feels it's nearly coming up to 2 years, at the Football Writers' Dinner that he was given Football Writers' Player of the Year, is Phil Foden. I don't know what I'm looking at the moment with Phil, and I'm totally confused how such a gifted young lad, because now he's 25, is not playing. I mean, his set pieces were awful last night. So many misplaced crosses, just not getting it right. And you can clearly see that Phil's struggling. And it's been affected because he's been in and out of the Man City team as well. And he's such a good footballer. He just can't seem to find his way at the moment.
Is there a bit of pressure on him, maybe?
Well, it's probably the first time. Look, you have to remember with young lads, when they're coming through, Shebahn, they're the shining light. He's one of our own. He comes in, he does brilliantly, and he's going to be the future star. He's going to take over Kevin De Bruyne. All of this sort of conversation happens. But when he faces the first time in his career, and I've had this myself, so I can relate, and I've spoke to players about this. When you have the first downturn and you start being left out by your manager at club level, and then you're not quite, in the starting 11 for England, and he's sort of lost his way, Phil. But I just hope he can reignite his career. He really needs to, because at the moment, I don't think Phil's going on the plane.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? It really is. Like you say, with the talent that we know that's there. Speaking of Phil Foden, there was a challenge on him, I think should have been a red card last night. Also, Agarte.
Yeah.
Lucky, I think, to have stayed on the pitch as well. Ben White comes on to a kind of a fair amount of boos. And then he scores the goal. Well, taps it in and gets booed. And then he concedes the penalty. Cass, the game's gone. That's not a penalty.
No, don't start. I mean, I've had this conversation with you numerous times, Shebahn. I don't get
week
penalties.
in, week out now.
Well, it's. I mean, look, we'll go back to Republic of Ireland midweek.
Never a penalty.
Never a penalty. Look, we're all sitting there delighted because it's for us.
Yeah.
But it's never a pen. And we're seeing this foot raised. By the way, last night with Ben White, both players got their feet up high, and you could argue that one's as foul as much as the other. And this is where we are in the game. And this is why I've always said, if we keep going down this regulation of what is deemed a penalty and what's not, and then we just keep getting closer and closer to the ludicrous, and we're at the ludicrous stage now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never a penalty.
Has Ben White done enough to throw his hand up to Thomas Tuchel, put me on that plane?
No, not at the moment. He's only played a bit part. He's ended up getting a goal, but I don't think Ben will make it. Look, the boos, people get angry that you didn't, you left the camp, if you like, and you didn't want to be a part. But you have to remember that sometimes personal things go on within a camp that we know nothing about. And if you have a disagreement and you end up holding your hand up and walking out, none of us know the real truth. We know bits of it. I mean, I've been told stuff, but it's nothing that warrants really him being booed. It's just a difference of opinion.
Yeah. And we don't know the full story.
No.
I can't get my head around. I can't, Cass, I can't think that way. I know it's people expressing their displeasure and that Ben White walked out in his country. Guys, they weren't going to war. You know, he said he wasn't available for selection. That's what Gareth Southgate said. Yeah. And we know that maybe, well, we think something happened between him and Steve Foley. Okay, let it go. But let it go. You boo a player like that coming on. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. The only thing I'd say, there are certain people that will think and believe that if you turn your back on your country not to play football for them and you leave a camp during a tournament, that you should never play again. Now, whether I don't agree with that, but that's their reasoning. They think it's the ultimate betrayal. They make you feel like you're a traitor. And really, things go on in camps. You know, Roy Keane left in 2002 under a disagreement.
And do the Irish hate him?
Yeah, well, no, they don't. They love exactly. Roy, you know, and this happens. The disagreements happen, and if players leave, you know, who's really to blame?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting conversation because I've never been in, you know, an elite sport dressing room. It's never happened to me. You have, but I also think people should stay true to themselves. You know, Ben White hasn't really put a foot wrong in his career apart from that moment where he's maybe backed himself and went, no, for my own personal reason, I'm going to do this. And now his country and his fans boo him ahead of a World Cup. I find it baffling. If I'm wrong, call me. Tell me why. 03717 223344 81089. Keep the messages coming in on this. It really is loud BOOS, isn't it? We'll hear the clip again a little bit later on. Coming up for you today, by the way. Oh, action-packed. Scotland, the Bonnie Scots. Today, go against Japan. That should be a good game. 5 o'clock tonight. We've got matches in League One. It's non-league weekend, people. We've got a full programme in League Two and a full day of derbies in the Women's Super League. Everton, Liverpool at 12. Man United, Man City at 1:30. And Arsenal Spurs is the 5:30 game tonight as well. Lots of rugby to get stuck into. More on that coming up. England fans, is it time to forgive Ben White? 03717 223344. And are you concerned about last night's performance? Stuart Pearce, former England captain, said last night on talkSPORT, let's judge it over the two games, shall we? Let's wait and see what happens on Tuesday. The full England debrief is available now on the talkSPORT Daily podcast. Stay with us until 9 and then you can go and listen to that. Former England captain Stuart Pearce alongside Adrian Durham and Jim Proudfoot. Available now on the talkSPORT Daily podcast on the talkSPORT app. Coming up soon, we're going to get Cass to pick his England starting lineup for the World Cup if it was to take place tomorrow. And coming up, sorry Cass, time for a sob story. Ireland's World Cup playoff semi-final penalty shootout exit on Thursday.